Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Sunday, April 13th. This is episode 243. I am Tony.
I am Dennis. We're in person. Yay! I'm better. I hope, we'll see. We'll see about that. But but I feel better. So, though our remote recordings went pretty well, I think.
I thought they worked
episode
pretty
feedback has been good.
Yeah.
That's a positive. I do want to also, I think I meant to do this on the last episode. I have to double check because I said I told someone that I inadvertently left off a thank you to a Patreon person, but Tim L has joined our Patreon. So thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that. What have you been doing lately?
I have been reading a lot, like a lot. I've had several days that have been very stressful at work and a lot of stuff going on, and I come home and I just sit down and read for a while because it's one of those things that I will sit in my rocking chair in the backyard and throw the stick for the dog, and she will chase it, and I will sit there and read and throw the stick and read and throw the stick.
Oh,
yeah, it's cute.
It's very Midwestern of you.
It is. It's all I need is like a church warden pipe and a straw hat to make it like almost too Midwestern. Or a corncob pipe would probably work.
Maybe
that'd probably be a little.
It's
better
a little old timey. That's a little like Bluebell Petridge Farm. Pepperidge Farm, not Petridge.
Petridge Farm.
Yes.
But yeah, no, that's what I've done. I've also played some Brotato and heard wonderful feedback from so many listeners and so many friends.
We might have some feedback to share later in the episode too.
Joined in the happiness and the joy that is Brotato.
Yes. You've corrupted many. That's unfortunate. I feel like this is like watching a plague spread.
Maybe.
Or an invasion of the body snatchers. And once your body has been snatched, you're good with it.
Right.
It doesn't hurt.
It's okay.
Let yourself be snatched.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland, just let yourself.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all good.
All right. Well, I haven't played much gaming-wise. Been doing a lot of stuff. Work's been busy as well for me. So the main thing is I did start Furry Zelda. Tunic. Do you remember Tunic? When it was being advertised? It's you're a Fox Zelda going around doing Fox Zelda things.
Basically, yeah.
So that was apparently in Game Pass Core, which is which I do have. So
yeah.
So I did pick that up. It's hard. I've only played it a little bit, and I did want to go ahead and share a couple of one listener feedback thing here before we actually jump into our section. So Derek K wrote into us because we talked a little bit about with Patreon. We did the sci-fi thing when we were in Texas, and we've talked about not for every episode or anything, but doing more of that just to give you guys something where it's a side thing, so no one's going to lament that it wasn't the main episode,
right?
Or if anything, they'll probably be happy that we didn't go so off topic for so long. But so Derek wrote in with some suggestion stuff, but his email says, "Hello. I had no idea you folks used to play World of Warcraft, and I used to play as well. I played on a few trial accounts before Burning Crusade, but it wasn't until my foreman at a job invited me to his guild that I actually paid to play. We used to raid Tuesday and Thursday nights. I played from Pandaria to near the end of Legion. Your story of idiots standing in fire and running a dungeon for a mount brought back memories. Tony played EVE Online, and I did as well, from the Dominion era to the start of Incarna."
Oh, I was stopped well before that.
"It was at the end of the BOB war, and I was part of a 0.0 renter alliance in the north and later in the south. I have crazy memories, especially of Call to Arms happening, and you would have to form a fleet on Vent, and it was super organized. All at like 5 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, and you would zoom off to a random bookmark in space and log off in the system before leaving for work. A few stern Pinball employees actually play Helldivers 2 and other games. So yes, video games are big amongst even the creators at these companies. It might make a good Patreon episode or regular episode to talk about World of Warcraft, etc. Best regards, Derek."
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
thank you, Derek. And I don't know any of that stuff you said about EVE, but Tony was just nodding with like the Jack Nicholson nod.
I understood every single bit of it. But yeah, no, I was never that highly involved. I spent most of my time in small stealth blops and the like, just either in my stealth bomber or in my logistics or my blockade runner or I mean, I ran 3 accounts simultaneously, so I could do all of them at once. But,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like normal people do.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
normal stuff. Normal, it's perfectly normal to be running 3 accounts on a game. So while you're playing with 2 other humans, and somehow you've got 15 ships out between the 3 of you.
Well, we will get into video games because there is a lot of news, but not quite yet. We got to jump into pinball first because we have an order that we like to follow. Before going into some updates, and this is going to be one of those weird episodes where we're on the deep breath before the plunge, or as Tony would probably describe it, the usual, where EGP comes out just before all the big announcements.
Right.
So we're stuck going to be last to give you anything of note.
We're right on the cusp.
Yeah, we're right there. But I want to touch on it. We had a couple of emails come in regarding Texas Pinball Festival, which is, of course, what we kind of debriefed on last time. So Scott V wrote in and said, I was in Dallas during TPF, and I still didn't attend the show. I've never been to a pinball show, but my first will likely be Chicago. Chicago is the center of the pinball universe, and it offers some tours of manufacturers, etc. If TPF still had the Twippies live, previous rendition, I would have definitely attended. I'm glad you got to experience all those new games at TPF in the wood. Say it, Dennis. Get well, Scott. Yeah, that's a watch reference that I think I brought up here before about how they like to say "in the metal," it just, for whatever reason, it's a pet peeve. It just kind of pisses me off to hear it like that. I'm like, no, in person or in the flesh, like we're people. I'm not a robot. I'm not one of the robots.
Can you imagine a pinball machine made out of flesh?
Imagine a living pinball machine. You had to water it, and then you forgot because you put it in a store. You thought the batteries
like your Tamagotchi. It's like your Tamagotchi.
I was thinking of
you come back and it's just a dead.
I was thinking of reference to an upcoming rumored title, Chair Dogs.
Chair Dog.
Like we didn't feed our Chair Dog pinball machine. It would be very sad. It'd be very, very sad. So anyway,
playing fetch with your pinball machine.
I mean, so yes, yeah, sitting out there reading, playing fetch with the pinball machine with your corncob pipe and your slings out there, just sitting there, toss a sling as a stick. Go get your sling, boy. Go get your sling. So, anyway, I mean, Chicago, it's a big event, and I've heard that it has a great deal of improvements. Some people are really into the tours. I have not done factory tours. I've not been particularly compelled. There have been a couple instances where I've had employees mention to me about just having us like come and do a tour, like a private tour. But anytime I've been anywhere, it's never actually manifested, and I'm far too lazy to actually try and make it happen from my end.
Right.
I feel like it's kind of presumptuous and uppity in a way to be like, hey, I'm so important, give me a private tour. Like I just don't feel like that's my place to demand such things.
Well, and I, having worked in manufacturing in the past, it's like, okay, it's a tour of a place where they build stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd probably be cool to do one, but I don't know if I would get, like, Stern would be interesting just because they're so large to sort of see some of it. I want to see the Gottlieb press. That's probably what I want, but that's about it. I guess this was just my opinion, Scott. I don't expect it to be back at it, but the Twippies live, it's tough for me. Like there were good ones and there were not so good ones. It's not as fun as maybe it sounds on paper. Maybe for the first time it would be. But it's so long.
Even the good ones were long, and even the ones that were really good that didn't have me cringing. By the end, I was glad it was over.
Yeah, it's like any awards show that I've seen, like Oscars or Golden Globes. So it's really long. If you're not up for something, I don't really see how easy it would be to stay excited. And they just have had it again. It varies by year, but there's just been so many categories. Anyway, I'm not here to rant about Twippies. I would not use that as a factor personally to decide whether or not to go to TPF, because it's, other than if you want to have a place where it's kind of easy to find a bunch of people who do stuff in pinball and then talk to them like after the awards show.
Right.
Like one year after the Twippies, we all just sort of hung out. It was not a good year for like the award show, but afterwards a whole bunch of like podcasters and streamers and stuff. We were just standing out in the hall, like chit chatting for an hour.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Great.
But
we had pizza delivered to the hall.
Yes. Yeah. So you see,
somebody had pizza delivered
right.
to
Yeah,
us.
I think it was the Loser Kids kids had arranged for the pizza. So it's like that's the sort of thing that's fun to me. It's not the awards show itself was not, but hey, everyone has their own preferences.
Right. I think that's the thing is running into and talking to people and getting to know people. And that's part of why I like going back to places is because you get to know people and you get to see them, people that you might talk to a bunch of times throughout the year, but you only see in person at an event.
Right. Well, David P. also wrote in to give his Texas Pinball Festival thoughts to us. And he wrote, "Gentlemen, excellent post-TPF podcast as always. And thanks again for the Patreon podcast. Very enjoyable. Once again, TPF was scheduled on the tail end weekend of spring break for most of the Dallas-Fort Worth school districts. I continue to believe this is a mistake and is likely a contributor to reduced attendance at TPF. Many people are likely out of town with their kids on vacation. This also was the case in 2024. Also, I wonder if the softening of the pinball market has translated to decreased enthusiasm for going to pinball festivals in general. Who knows? Thanks, David." Well, thank you, David, for writing in with your thoughts. Yeah. I've known about the spring break issue before. I don't know. See, here's the thing. It used to feel to me like on the Saturday in particular, like that was a day where I assumed a bunch of locals were just showing up and having fun for a few hours with their kids. Because you see a lot of teens and stuff going around and playing games and little kids. And I didn't see as much of that.
There wasn't as much of
this
that.
go around. And again, on the weekend, I suppose it doesn't really matter if it's spring break or not. If they were out of town because of the spring break, that definitely would be a cause for not being there because they are not around, so they can't show up. I don't know. The softening of the pinball market, I have wondered if some people were holding off because they're not looking to buy and they use the show as the way to get that hands-on. Like as my rule of thumb, for example, as Tony knows and many listeners know, is I don't buy a new in-box pinball machine unless I've played the game first to know if I really like it. And so if others are like me, and I'm sure some are, that would be a good show, a good opportunity to try and play stuff. There wasn't a lot of new stuff there. I mean, so we went over all the games we had played, but most of the games we had played for the first time had been out for months.
Right.
I mean, the newest games were probably the Merlin's Arcade and Dungeons and Dragons. And Dungeons and Dragons still had been like 2 months old at that point.
Well, and Portal.
And Portal, that's quite
which
fair.
was
that's
like
right.
announced.
Yes. Portal was the maybe the newest. I don't know because the announcement for Merlin's Arcade had just come out. It just didn't come out with much fanfare. But yeah, good point. Yeah, that was a brand spanking new one, which is why those two I think got a lot of attention. Yeah, no, it's hard to say, but I think there's a multitude of factors. But they're just also and something we sort of touched on as well when we there wasn't like an external draw. Like there's no Cassandra Peterson to sign things.
Right.
So like they just didn't, they're making it just more pinball. And honestly, if it means I can walk around easier, that's great from my perspective. But like for the long-term health of the show. I mean,
right. Yeah. Cause there was no big, like you said, there was no draw. There was no like pinball guest or famous person with even minor pinball ties. Mm-hmm. They had the live music that they've done the last couple of years. And a magician.
Yes.
And I guess you could say that Magic has a tie-in to pinball.
It does. It does, except I don't recall seeing a Pinball Magic or Theater of Magic or any Magic-themed pinball machine. There may have been a Houdini or two there.
Right.
That's about it. But anyway.
I will say that I do think that they need to move it up or back. I would be fine. Move it a week or two up or a week or two back. I just get tired of it directly interfering with my wife's birthday.
Yes, no, you have a personal reason for it. I actually have a major in-state work conference that likes to happen basically the Tuesday. Technically, it starts the Monday after the show, and so it makes for a really hard life experience. So, but
I think first week of April would be better.
Yeah, first week of April. That'd be great. So, moving on from our emails, as I already noted, here we are in the calm before the storm. This is another thing that could have had a factor with TPF, though, is yes, there were some new reveals, but they're all, and I don't mean this to sound mean, but I don't think anyone would really debate it. That none of it was the good expected stuff. The good expected stuff, like people have known Elwyn's next game is coming. People have known Harry Potter is coming. People have been wanting to see what the new Barrels of Fun game is. Like the big stuff, no. It wasn't like that. D&D has been as exciting and as popular as it has been more of a surprise to people than anything else. But so let's go ahead and cover what's coming, and some of that stuff is going to come out really, really, really soon, we believe. So first is Stern. They did, and I have a link in the show notes to it. They did drop the teaser trailer for King Kong: Myth of Terror Island. So this is that Elwyn expected title. Because it's the teaser, you basically see nothing other than there's a Gong bash toy, which kind of reminded me of the bell in AC/DC. If it always makes a gong sound, it has to make a gong sound like every time. That's
it's the Kong gong.
It's a Kong gong, yes. Now, here's the thing. Here's a question I want to ask you. In Godzilla, even though it wasn't really related to any of the Godzilla movies, especially in the Toho era, when you started Godzilla Multi-Ball, initially, they finally let you pick your song, but it would be the Blue Oyster Cult,
of course,
Godzilla song. Is T-Rex's "Bang a Gong, Get It On" going to be the multi-ball song?
It would. I think for this. It would be the best one for the Kong Gong.
That's right.
If the Kong Gong activates multi-ball, it's got to be Bang a Gong.
Will on the screen it show King Kong wearing a hubcap Diamond Star halo?
No.
Okay. I would maybe add that while the song is playing, but it's up to you. Maybe that's too fun. I don't know. All right. There's not a lot else to say other than the reveal is expected on Tuesday, as you noted, Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. So just after this show comes
of course.
Pricing is unchanged. So that has been indicated as well. So that will be a comfort to a lot of people. For obvious reasons, because it's been a little while since Stern did a price increase, and Elwyn games are always extremely popular with collectors because they tend to be very good designs with very good rules.
Yeah. No, I mean, completely understandable. And I think Kong plays well because who doesn't want a Kong Gong next to their Godzilla?
Mm-hmm. Now, I have also seen indication, it's not as formally announced, but Barrels of Fun, they are expected before our next episode, though I'm not saying on Tuesday the 15th,
right,
to reveal their second game. We saw the Barrels people at Texas Pinball Festival. They were sitting there with a few labyrinths without much to do, and the assumption, understanding, belief is that they had hoped to reveal by TPF time and weren't ready.
It just wasn't there.
All rumors continue to indicate Dune. I don't know the movie or the book, or surely not the movie that isn't the newest movie. But hey, I don't know. That'd
be the best.
I don't know.
I will kill him.
Yes. I don't know if Sting is going to be involved. It would be funny if it was the new movie, but they still got Sting to do like the regular commentary call-outs. I don't know. I think we can do what Barrels can do what they want. I believe there was a distributor that inadvertently had posted something about Dune Pinball online that I saw as well. I think maybe Nap Arcade had a reference to this. So anyway, I don't have any links on this, but bottom line is the understanding is everyone thinks it's Dune. So obviously Dune is a very popular story. And the latest movies, part 1, part 2 did very well too. So
the important question here, Dennis, is when you activate Sandworm multi-ball or Muad'Dib multi-ball or whatever multi-ball, does it play Weapon of Choice, where it talks about you got to walk without rhythm? And of course the voiceover has to be done by Walken, because Walken was dancing in the Weapon of Choice video from Fatboy Slim,
and he is the emperor.
And he's the emperor.
Yes. No, I don't know. Here's the thing. I think everyone is like the worm. Shai Hulud has to eat the ball. Like there's just certain it's going to happen.
Of course.
But what
this
if
is pinball? Anything has to eat the ball now.
They're like children with their why am I saying y'all are like children with your simplistic desires of what exactly you want things to handle, the most paint by number expectations. Let me give you an alternative. What if the sandworm doesn't eat the ball? What if you ball lock on top of the sandworm like the Riders, the Fremen Riders? Would that not be really cool?
You know what would be interesting? Because there is so much, even in the new movie, of like knife fighting, that there is a mode that activates where gates drop down to block the ramps as you're shooting, and your target is and your goal is to stab the guy you're fighting. But so you have to get it hit the ramp or hit your shot when the gates open.
Oh, interesting.
So it'd be like he's blocking with the knife.
Right. I was going to propose like maybe there's a key shot, like maybe in front of one of the ramps or something, where a Chris knife pops up, and once the knife is revealed, blood must be shed before it can be sheathed again. If I remember the
So you have
rules
to
properly.
stab the person
So then
playing
there's
the
a
game
lit
next
shot
to you.
you have to hit to so that the blade tasted blood, and otherwise you can't access the shot anymore.
That works a little better.
See?
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
And just you know what, just floating it out there. I mean, if it's based on the original Dune movie, which would be perfectly acceptable. There needs to be the point where when you get to the wizard mode, a little thing opens up on the front and just a little bit of cocaine comes out, and you can just go ahead and just take a quick snort.
I want you look, barrels. This is what I want. Again, if you can't or don't want to, or pricing or whatever with Sting, I totally understand it. Get a sound alike, not for Sting, the little girl. I get it. People are like, what is he talking about? The Muad'Dib's sister. Look, she wasn't in the new Dune movies other than as a fetus. However, in the book and in the first movie, she played a prominent role. I just want her creepy child voice saying things like, "My brother comes. Come closer to me, Baron. Come closer to me."
Yeah.
Abomination. Yes. Yes. All right. So anyway, I'm excited.
What if there was a Gom Jabbar on the thing where you have to put one hand in and your hand gets locked in the machine while you play with just the other
It's gonna
hand?
be like a $50,000 game with your versions, mostly because of the price of Coke. But I'm just saying, it's just like, holy cow. Oh. And the topper is one of them ornithopters, and its wings flap when you're in multi-ball, and so it blows in your face like Whirlwind, which is the best topper ever.
Makes total sense.
Yep.
It is the opposite, just the obvious way to go. And to be fair, I would be okay with voiceovers by Kyle MacLachlan, however he says it. Because it just makes sense. He can still sound like a young Paul Atreides. He was 112 when he played Paul Atreides originally in the 80s.
That's a fair point.
He looks the same now as he did when he played 16-year-old Paul Atreides.
Barrels may want to save him for when they do the
Twin Peaks.
Yeah, Twin Peaks pinball, which honestly feels like it's up someone's alley. I don't know it's theirs, but it's someone's. All right. So anyway, there is that. And then third, all right, so Jersey Jack Pinball. They told this last week distributors that they can start promoting Harry Potter. So you're seeing sites and offers coming up for people to lock in pre-orders and such. There was an image shared for this where you see like part of the front plate of the pinball machine, and that the handle for the shooter rod is a golden snitch. We haven't seen anything else. There's basically nothing that's been shown. I have not heard that by our next episode, Jersey Jack's going to share anything whatsoever. This seems, again, just like when Jack at Texas announced, don't spend your money, Harry Potter's coming, we have everything, 10 years in the making, millions of dollars. This still feels to me like they are driven by this fear that people are going to lock up money with Elwyn and Stern, or possibly less of a threat, but nonetheless, if it looks as good as A World Under Glass's Labyrinth was, that they'll lock up money with Dune.
Right.
And they're trying to make sure people save money for Harry Potter. What has been indicated is there will be 3 levels this time. That they're bringing,
we're going back
they're
to the
bringing in
3
an
levels.
arcade level under $10,000. I think it's been confirmed now to be $9,999.
Okay, so it's $10,000.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I had a little mini. I don't even call it a debate. I had a little mini discussion with Zach about that. I don't know if that part was recorded when we did TPS or not, but he and I talked about that. The other 2 tiers are the same price as has been, $12,000 and $15,000, but purportedly no caps on any number. So there is no limit on the collector editions.
Okay.
That's the rumor, at least. I don't know if that's been
If you're
confirmed.
going to try it, this is the game to try it
Exactly. This version, from what I have heard, mechanically layout-wise, no different than the other two trim levels.
But there's no art. It's a white wood.
Well, if they do, I mean, my thinking, no, my understanding actually is that even the art is going to be the same as the $12,000 level. So now I'm starting to wonder if so in the past, what they did, not like with GNR and stuff, when they started making the 3 levels, but the standard edition actually had compromises mechanically, was like when you go back to like the dialed ins and stuff, it was things like no color changing GI. The GI was white. They had less light bulbs in it, things like that. So I'm assuming that might be the case, but I raised the question with Zach if he thinks that this arcade edition, because it saves you $2,000, but mechanically and artistically, if it's going to be the same as the $12,000 game, do you think a lot of people just buy the $10,000 version?
Right.
Historically, people didn't. The standard editions from JJP were always the worst performing models.
But typically they were missing stuff.
In the latter years, yes. If you were to go back to like Woz and Hobbit, or whenever they... See, I don't remember when they came out with the standards either exactly. But, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's curious.
It drives me nuts when something is $9.99 and somebody says it's $9.
It's a psychological basic.
It's $10.
This is where I've wondered. I don't know if I think I've raised it with Zach before. It may have been a while ago. Which for those that don't know, the Pinball Show, which I do with Zach Mini, distributor of Flippin' Out Pinball, is because he's a psychologist by training. And I've wondered if this is like when doing sales, if it just feels like baby's first psychology, because they just like use the most rudimentary tools,
right,
almost like a caveman's tools, to bluntly manipulate people psychologically into buying things. So I've wondered if he finds it a little beneath him, given he worked with much more challenging mental aspects to try and get people into a place where they're in a positive space.
That's an interesting question.
Versus, oh, look, marketing, where you're just like crudely trick people into spending money. Like, I don't know. It's not interesting enough for me to really explore it. I guess if we run out of topics for Patreon, we can do that one. Okay. So those are the 3 companies that have noteworthy news.
I will, real quick. One last thing.
What?
One last thing.
What now?
This didn't work out so well for Jersey Jack several years ago when they were doing when they were playing the long tees and it's coming and here's this.
But it's Harry Potter this time.
Right, but still at the same time
he's a wizard.
To start dropping it and not have anything to show for weeks and or months, I don't think it actually helps your numbers any. It's not going to matter. You're right. This is Harry Potter. I mean, it's going to sell. Harry Potter is probably going to outsell with the non-pinball crowd more than most anything I can think of.
I still feel that the non-pinball crowd is very limited at $10,000, but
that's valid.
But I may be wrong, and I do think it does better than a number of their other games with the non-pinball crowd, regardless of the pricing. So I suppose, and ultimately, I do agree with you. I think for me, the big issue is if all of this is the case. You've got a $10,000 version. You got a CE collector's edition that has no limit.
Right.
You don't even have the 5,000 unit limit on the LE or whatever they're calling. I don't think they're calling it the LE. They're calling it something else again. But the Wizards edition, I think, is what they're calling it. Like
you're a pinball wizard, Harry.
I get it, and I'm not saying it's the wrong decision. All right, I am going to say non-limited CEs is the wrong decision.
I think you're right.
Because now, where's the pressure to get the game immediately? Maybe it's smart because now what you've told me, let's say I'm the whale for once. I'm the pinball whale. But you know what? Market stuff going on right now. I'm not feeling the best that I possibly could. Now, maybe I'm not the proper time. So I'm probably like a beluga whale. I'm not like a blue whale where I'm big enough that look, this came up on I know you don't listen to the pinball show. So on the last pinball show, and we had a little debate about tariffs.
Okay.
And the impact on pinball specifically. And one of Zach's, the way he presented it, one of his perspectives was basically that, this is how I took it at the time at least, was people who buy pinball machines have already planned for the economic impact of the tariffs and will be able to and should continue to buy all of the games. And I disagreed that would be how people, and they're even rich people with their discretionary money would work universally. Now, a blue whale Yes.
Yes.
But a little beluga whale like me, no. Like, sure, I can still afford pinball machines. Like, let's say my beluga-liness meant I didn't lose my job or lose all of my income. But if I'm making less money than I was, I don't think I, as a mere beluga, would maintain my same spending habit. My point being, I would buy fewer pinball machines. That's what I'm saying. But I'd still buy. But I wouldn't buy, like, again, as a whale, I would normally buy all 3 of these games on release. Here's where, again, we'll talk a little bit about tariffs in a little bit, but here's my query is, do you think that by not limiting Harry Potter, and you know it's going to be available and on the line for years, do you say, well, I'm buying limited edition King Kong because that's going to be hard to get.
Yeah.
And it's an Elwyn, so it's probably going to get more expensive used. I'll probably buy the limited edition of Dune because I love sand. More sand, please. And I'll wait 6 months, a year, year and a half to buy Harry Potter later. Do you think that they sabotaged immediate sales by making this in no way FOMO driven? Because you're not going to miss out. You can buy any version you want whenever.
I think they might have.
That's my question, and that's where I'm wondering.
I think there's a very serious chance that they might have.
So I see it like from both. I see it in 2 perspectives. One is they just cost themselves all of with everything Jack was saying, like at TPF and stuff. All the FOMO went right out of the balloon the moment you said, "Oh, don't worry, you can get any trim level you want whenever because there's nothing limited." And it's Harry Potter. You know, it's not going to be like Rush, where after a year and a half they vault the thing and quit building it.
Right.
But on the flip side, I could see this as a smart play because by doing that, there'll be a longer tail on the sales. And because of the popularity of Harry Potter, if you think it's going to outperform Guns N' Roses at the 12,000 unit, why limit yourself to 5,000? Why not sell 6? And so now, like, ultimately they could generate more income because they haven't put those arbitrary caps, especially since they chose to hold the pricing line on all of the games. So this does give them the potential to make more money than they otherwise would have. If the CE has this incredible topper, incredible light show above and beyond everything else, why only sell 1,000 of them when you could sell 1,500? So I see it that way too.
Yeah.
I don't know which is right. I can only guess. But what to me it would mean as a beluga, in my example of me being beluga, is Harry Potter is no longer a day one buy because I know I have time now for any version I want. That panic is gone. The FOMO is gone. And my FOMO now shifts to King Kong. And I don't have to pick between the 2 because I can get Harry Potter later.
I mean, that's a valid point. And with the release schedules that we're seeing on pinball machines, you would be well placed even if you just delayed 6 months or a year.
But write into eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com and let us know, like, what do you think of that just strategically? I mean, I guess we'll find out if they end up announcing. We'll see on the sales right away. I'm sure it'll do. I mean, there are plenty of people that only wanted Harry Potter and don't care about King Kong. Harry Potter is the better theme. So, but I'd be curious to know, like, if you were running a pinball company in today's market, what do you think is the right answer? Do you think the right answer is to use the FOMO, or is the right answer to open yourself up to sell as many as possible and not force people to compete over a certain number of trim models and let the used market make all that, or secondhand market make all that extra profit because they're flipping the things?
Right.
See, it took the air out of that, which I like strategically. I kind of like some of these choices. I just don't know that it was. I don't know if it's the right choice. It's such an evergreen title. I think they may be right here. I think this might actually be the smartest play, even if it costs them immediate sales.
Right. And, because eventually they're going to kick out other special editions of it, like they they have other stuff in the past. Eventually you're going to get your Gryffindor edition or your Ravenclaw edition.
All right. Last pinball topic was tariff impact. Now, I don't want to do the way that the discussion went with Zach because I didn't like that discussion. I got angry. Because
angry Dennis.
Yes, I felt like I was talking to a brick wall.
Flip the table.
Yeah, verbally I may have flipped the table.
Dennis smash.
Because it was very difficult for me to. I felt like it wasn't being examined. Here's the thing: it's tough to talk about tariffs because again, we have there's a mix of listeners with a mix of political ideologies. And some people are conflating whether or not you think the tariffs are a good idea, like politically, with what tariffs do mathematically. And I felt Zach wasn't going into the political part of it, but he also seemed to be oblivious to the economic ramifications because of how I think it's tough. I know I'm kind of rambling. Here's my point. There's the impact directly on pinball with tariffs.
Right.
But then there's also, because tariffs impact everything as they've been proposed, how it affects everyone in terms of their income, their job security, all the rest of it. And broadly speaking, economists, be they identifying as progressive, conservative, or centrist, generally all agree how tariffs work. It's not really a debated thing because there's plenty of evidence, because there have been a lot of countries that have done these things before. So we have good evidence on how they function. But it's so interconnected, it can be really hard to fully see all the ramifications. My discussion here, I just wanted to keep focused on what pinball companies have said about tariffs. Now, where things currently stand, here's the problem. There's total chaos because whether you like tariffs or don't, the rules keep changing day by day, and it's getting really annoying. Forever, like business owners, all the way. Like, again, wristwatch hobby, that's a hobby where the U.S. is not a strong producer of watches. A lot of the watches are imported. I have heard from dealers, like people who own their own companies selling watches, where they had pending orders like from China, which all of a sudden they just had to pay this huge tariff on. And then an order 3 days later, all of a sudden was lower than what they expected because they kept changing. Mm-hmm. So just for landscape, at the time of this recording, my understanding is China still has, with some carve-outs, a very high tariff applied. The reciprocal tariffs were canceled or paused for the other countries, but that does not include the across-the-board 10% tariffs that apply to almost all nations other than China. So there are tariffs in place right now.
Right.
So I'm using this for that context. Here's what these various companies have said. The one American company I saw a notation from was Barrels of Fun. They have indicated that they're going to try and hold pricing, but that the tariffs do impact their costs. Reasons most likely being that some of their supply chain is surely imported. Either it's the metals themselves, if they're like folding their own legs or whatever, or if they're ordering screws from China or whatnot.
Right.
We don't know what the percentage of reliance on imports are, but as the importer or whoever the importer they're buying from, they will most likely have to face that tariff because the foreign nation doesn't pay the tariff. When we impose a tariff, it's a cost on us to bring the goods in.
Yeah.
That's how it works. So they've said they're going to try and hold the line, but they might need to raise prices because of this. They're going to have to see. It's going to depend on the tariff rate and how long the tariff is applied, obviously.
Right.
Because it's just math, guys. It's just math. Dutch Pinball. Now, the other two that I've heard from are foreign companies. So Dutch Pinball has said what they're doing is they're in the process of building the Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, the DPX game. They're stalling on sending the games to the U.S. buyers in the hopes to wait out the tariff situation, and that's
an interesting choice.
So that the importers don't have to pay the tariff. Now, it could backfire on them, but that's the current strategy. So they're shipping like to the EU countries right now, and they're going to stall on the American ones in the hopes that stability is restored and no one who's importing is going to have to eat that. Because again, they'll ship it. Like if you ordered it direct from them, what's going to happen, I'll tell you this from my own buying of watches, is FedEx, let's say you use FedEx Freight or whoever is bringing it. I've always ordered watches with FedEx, the shipper overseas. They're going to send you the duties and customs thing, and they're going to tell you how much you're going to pay before they release that game to you. You will pay it directly as the buyer. Dutch ain't paying that.
Yep.
So they're trying to help you out here, but it's a gamble because we don't know what it's going to look like as time advances. And at some stage, they need to sell these games so that they get the rest of their money.
Well, and the people who have pre-orders in, I'm sure, are going to be chomping at the bit.
Sure.
Especially if they've, with money put down.
And I've had, again, I'm going to use, because they're so foreign made comparatively to pinball in watches. I've seen people have been like, oh, they totally, like there are people that they pre-order watches all the time, like micro brands and stuff. They're always expensive watches, but they're like, stuff is arriving now and they're like, holy crap, I didn't even think about this. And I just got hit with this huge tariff on a watch I bought a year ago, but they just shipped it because they finally built it. And they're just like, I won't say freaking out, but it's hundreds of dollars
right.
more. This is evaporated money. It's not like the watch is now more valuable. It's just evaporated. So they're upset, of course, because they're kind of like, well, what was I supposed to do? Cancel this thing I waited a year for?
Right.
Like, well, that's a question you have to ask yourself financially. I can't answer that for you. But the last one I saw information from is Pedretti. So Pedretti Gaming announced their plan is they're going to try and absorb the tariffs. And this was noted with the current state, where the only tariff right now for them is that 10% across the board. So they think if it's just that, they can absorb it out of their profit line. But if reciprocals go back, it'll be reevaluated.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure even absorbing 10% will hurt.
They must have if they're able to absorb that, because again, I think for them, it's the whole game would be that cost to ship it over, because it's all seen as, I don't know if they get to carve up each part or how they do it. That's where the complication happens. So it's like, if the duty on steel is 10% more, the final product that you buy, if you buy something that's made with that foreign steel, isn't going to be 10%, it'll be lower, because that raw component is only part of the cost factor. But if the entire thing, like a watch, is coming over from China and China made the watch, it's 100% Chinese. So the product itself actually goes up 132 or 84, whatever the percent,
whatever it is this week
anymore. So anyway, so that's the current state of it. So the biggest thing here I would just note is, tariffs don't make, from pinball perspective, there's no need for tariffs, just in the vacuum of pinball, because we have an American-based industry that isn't threatened by a foreign industry. All the foreign pinball manufacturers are exceedingly small fry. It's like Home Pin, Dutch Pinball, Pedretti. These are not serious competitors to the U.S. industry. So my point is, from an industry, because one of the historic values to tariffs is protectionist, to protect existing industry. But pinball doesn't need that protection. What this will do is most people will only entertain American-made pinball machines. And I don't know if these foreign companies will be able to survive as pinball companies without being able to sell to the U.S. market. Because, Tony, even if you're a beluga, are you ready to just evaporate 25% more money into something which the value won't go up 25%? The moment that those tariffs go away, that value of that tariff is evaporated from the value of the product.
Right.
So, and again, the income line isn't even, like, you would just pay that straight up to the government in a lot of cases if you direct purchased. So I don't see long term, if it's high tariffs, like the reciprocals come back into play, I don't know how these companies thrive. I don't think they make enough selling outside of the U.S. to endure. That's my impression.
I would assume that is a good impression to have, but I just don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's all a guess. But hey, you could just keep buying everything and spend like YOLO.
Yeah,
that was the counter argument I faced on TPS, was YOLO.
Yeah, most whales got there by not doing that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I think the problem where I was kind of getting frustrated was it seemed like there was the impression that everyone who buys pinball is a whale.
Right.
Because it's a luxury good, don't get me wrong. It is. It's expensive, and new in-box pinball. I know middle-class people who scrimp and save to buy a pinball machine. They don't buy them every year. And anyway, this is not the place for the debate, but that's why I got so frustrated. Let's go to video games, which is something we will not get frustrated with. I do want to note, we did have an email come in from Chris D. Thank you, Chris, who wrote, the email body said, guys, what's the best game to play on vacation? He included an image. I didn't even bother sharing the image to you because you would recognize the image. And the email subject was, what's Brotato, precious?
He's right. Brotato is the best. I streamed Brotato on my birthday on our Discord.
I saw you announce that you were doing it. You've been doing these secret streams for a while now.
Yeah, every now and then.
I call them secret streams.
That's because I don't stream them anywhere except
I don't know why you don't
Discord.
stream them on Twitch. We have the EGP
we
Twitch
do,
channel.
and I should, but I need to reinstall and
OBS probably needs to be put back on the
OBS
system.
back together. And everything.
that's a fair enough reason. That is not
where with
that's
Discord,
not like a 2-minute setup.
I literally just hit the button in Discord and it streams on Discord. So,
okay. Well, thank you, Chris, for sharing the image, and at least he added the word precious, so that was nice. Good Lord of the Rings reference.
Brotato's so good. It's so good.
Well, is the Switch 2 any good?
I don't know. I have
What do you mean? I thought you caught up with all the Nintendo
I
Direct
caught up with all their
Nintendo-iness.
news. I just don't know if it's any good.
Yeah, that got
We'll
tariff.
see.
That got tariff impacted
did.
too. Are you touching on that? I haven't read through all your notes.
Yeah, they're delaying the pre-orders in the U.S. and now Canada.
What? What those maple
Because
syrup
of the
lovers
tariffs. Just it's because they ship together.
Oh, okay.
Because it ships together to a facility in the U.S.
Oh,
and
so
then,
when it gets imported to the U.S., they have to pay it then.
yeah.
So.
So they are having to figure out.
That's why I've noticed. I've had friends from Canada been contacting me lately. Some of them are like, "Why do something?" Like I'm the tariff guy. Like I could do stuff about tariffs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I tripped and I accidentally created tariffs. That's not. No, I'm not. No, that is not. I don't have anything to do with tariffs. I'm sorry. They don't. The tariff people don't listen to me. That's not how it works in the United States. But I didn't realize it was probably driven by Switch 2 rage because they're gonna be pissed. Because I know a lot of U.S. buyers who are gamers,
very angry.
Gamers are just like pissed, and that's before even getting into whether or not the thing's going to cost more. Because I'm already mad at how expensive this thing is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Hey, speaking of,
pricey.
there you go.
There we go.
Look, I've set them all up. These ducks are ready to be knocked over, or bowling pins.
They
or whatever
did
we knock
confirm
over.
the price right in the
Don't
middle
hit
of
a
where
duck,
we
guys.
thought it was.
Don't hit ducks. I realized I was advocating duck violence.
Yeah,
I have to.
there's no need to be violent to ducks.
No.
Now, geese.
Yes.
They fight back, so
Yes.
it's okay.
And you notice which ones fight the hardest? Canadian geese. I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Well, the Geneva Convention exists because of Canadians. Just saying.
Okay.
But they did confirm the price right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of where we thought it's going to be right at $450.
Yay!
So the shocking thing I think most people are seeing is that most of the early announcement video games are $80 a pop.
I mean, this has been debated for years now, as you know, Tony, about that
definitely.
the games being $60, just like when will inflation finally touch those? Because when we were kids, it was like a Nintendo game would be like 50.
Right, which is like 100 and something now.
So, I mean, this I feel is at some stage, this is not I think the thought is, well, the economy of scales have gotten better and better because they're not making physical media as much and more gamers exist. But at some point, I do think the pressure you have to adjust for inflation at some point.
I think I think video games are like the most inflation-proof thing we've seen in our lives.
And I think we've started to see the side effect. I'm not a fan of like advocating for higher prices, but I just need to point out, like, it's gotten to the point where there are a lot of companies where if the game isn't a smash hit, the developers fail and go away.
Right.
Like it's gotten really dire. There's like no padding.
Yeah, it is like games will be good, will be well rated, will sell all right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a smash hit. They didn't sell 1 million or 5 million copies day one. Close the company.
And that's where you're starting to see all these other auxiliary income streams, loot crates, games as a service. You're selling,
right?
Okay, we got a hit. Now let's make new seasons of it, like hero shooters and stuff. The Marvel Rivals approach and all that. Like, because once it's working, why take the risk? Just keep making money with what is popular.
Right.
Now, the problem is, I don't know if just by raising the prices, if we will go back to the old ways.
I don't think we
give
will.
all that up. But if anyone would, it would be Nintendo, because they have been more resistant to adopting those more predatory styles of purchasing.
They have typically been that way. They've also said, because there was some confusion originally, and they've come out and said that two of the launch titles are going to be the Switch 2 editions of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are going to be two. Those are also going to be $80 a pop.
That's a little harder to
But
swallow.
there was a bit of fluff. There was some questions asked that a marketing person answered maybe not the best way possible, that made it sound like that the game was just going to release with the Switch 1 version of those games, and then you would have to download the upgrade to upgrade everything to match the capabilities of the Switch 2. And they've now come out and said that no, you will be able to install that cartridge and play it, the Switch 2 version, with no downloads.
Okay.
Straight out. But yeah, they are launching June 5th. So 6 months so they can build stocks up for Christmas. They are launching a bundle that is the Switch 2 plus Mario Kart for $500. So that saves you $30 on Mario Kart right there. They have claimed that it is an example of variable pricing that reflects the breadth and depth of the gameplay for the pricing for Mario Kart at $80, and that they have not set a benchmark at Switch 2 games being $80. But all of the big Switch 2 games that launch are $80.
Yes. So,
but it's not a benchmark. It's just the Legend of Zelda's.
They may not
Mario
have meant it to
Kart.
be a benchmark, but I think it's going to be used as one. But that's just me.
I did notice an interesting thing is they are using an LCD screen instead of an OLED display.
Did they use the OLED for Switch 1?
They did use the OLED for the mid-generation upgrade of the Switch ones. But they are
why.
claiming,
is it a battery hog?
They're claiming that LCD technology has improved and that they were able to get the kind of sharpness and everything they wanted off of a cheaper LCD instead of the OLED.
Well, the console isn't cheaper, but okay.
Right.
I know people are going to agree with that, but all right.
I'm guessing that it probably, if they'd gone with an OLED instead, it probably would have been over 500, and they didn't want to cross that line.
No, it makes sense.
That's just my personal opinion. They did announce a number of launch titles. Mario Kart, obviously, we've talked about the two Legends of Zeldas. They are putting out a tutorial game for the Switch 2 to teach you how to use the Switch 2. It will cost you $10. It doesn't come with the game. They say it's fun.
My sister sent me a message making fun of this.
They claim that it is so much fun, and they put so much time and effort into designing it that they couldn't just give it away with this thing. So if you want the tutorial to learn how to play your Switch 2, it's $10. Give me money. Money.
It's not a benchmark.
It's not a benchmark.
They're not expecting all tutorials for all games to be $10 more.
Hey, try the demo for this game. $10. But it's a demo. $10.
You put a lot of work in this vertical slice.
Right? And then when I buy the full game, will that make it $10 cheaper? No. $80. Physical edition, $90. They're putting out GameCube classics like Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2.
That's a Tony favorite.
That is one of my favorite Soul Caliburs right there. So that is perfectly acceptable. I'm not buying a Switch 2.
You're not?
I'm not.
But
not for
think
myself.
of the children.
I will think of the children. The children will probably end up with the Switch 2 at some point. But I'm not buying one for myself. My current Switch is somewhere.
Yeah.
I haven't played it in years. Other people play it, but I haven't played it in years. No, if I've decided that the next time I spend money on a console, it will be a Steam Deck. So I can play Brotato in the car while we're driving to TPF.
Oh, yeah. No, you'll probably be tired of Brotato any day now.
Could be.
Yeah.
I can play something else in the car while we're driving to TPF.
No, you'll be done with games by then. I think probably. You just read and throw a stick.
Read in the car. The dog's
stick in the
chasing. It's gonna be like National Lampoon. I think the pooch kept up for the first couple miles.
Oh, yes.
They're also at launch. These are all launch titles. The Deltarune chapters 1 through 4. Split Fiction, which has taken the world by storm for that kind of cooperative play type game. It's been huge, very popular. Cyberpunk 2077, Street Fighter 6, Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, Civ 7. If I want to play a Civ game, I'll just get Steam Deck and play Civ on the Steam Deck. But other people, they want to play Civ 7. Hogwarts Legacy, Bravely Default, Flying Fairy HD Remaster, Yakuza 0, Fortnite, Fast Fusion, Hitman World of Assassination.
I do love Hitman games.
Hitman. Some of these games, it's just like, I'm going to play Hitman or Cyberpunk on
With a Joy-Con.
Nintendo. It's weird. It's
The assassinations will leave pools of sweat, little puddles of sweat.
they're
They're just sleeping.
There is a streamer that I listen to and watch on occasion that they were talking about the Switch 2 release on a podcast, and he voices a character for one of the side mission, little extra mission things in Cyberpunk 2077, and his character has a whole line that goes of stuff that goes on because his crotch catches fire, and he's like, my voice is going to be talking about my crotch catching fire on a Nintendo now. I've hit my biggest goal in life.
Yes, he's achieved the dream many voice actors have had.
It's like, yeah, it is weird to me to see this on a Nintendo though. Nobunga's Ambition Awakening, Survival Kids, teaching kids how to get ready for the future.
Yes.
Survival Kids. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, Arcade Archives 2 Ridge Racer, and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S.
Okay, I've seen some Puyo Puyo Tetris before.
It's fun. So these are just launch titles. There's a ton of other titles.
Well, this is quite a slate.
I think it's a pretty solid slate until you realize that only one of these is a Switch exclusive.
Right. Well, I mean,
everything else is stuff that's been on other consoles. Some of it for a while now.
Some of it is dated, definitely. But
there's
stuff for it.
It's
so
stuff there to
if you haven't had a console in a while, then you have plenty of things you could get for it.
I did read a humorous article. It's like, should I play Breath of the Wild on Switch 2, or should I just wait for the Switch 3 edition?
Oh, ouch. That'd be a long wait. So I'd say get it for Switch 2.
I mean, if you've got a Switch, just get on the Switch 1. But basically, it feels like the Nintendo's overall answer to the controversy that fired up over pricing is just that people will pay it. Where else are you going to play Mario?
Yep.
Where else are you going to play Zelda?
Yeah. It's always been so.
Yeah.
Always has been.
And so this is their push. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think that they're well timed in the console generational life, that they're not going to get overly slammed by new PS5s or new Xboxes. I think they're well positioned for sales that way. I think bringing in more adult titles will open their sales and their ability to do more and sell more to people who wouldn't traditionally go for the Nintendo route because they want to play stuff. But in the end, you're also going to be worrying about some people that still, the Switch 2's graphics are way better than the Switch 1, but they're still not PS5 or the newest. Is it the Series X that's the new Xbox? I don't know. Whatever. It's still not up to the latest generations.
Right.
So that's a question. Will they be able to maintain?
I think given their exclusive catalog, that's just what they've been relying on, and it's been working. I mean, they haven't been the leader on hardware tech in a long time.
But they still set records on sales.
It's just not their angle.
So I think they'll be fine. I'm not worried that Nintendo's going to suddenly go somewhere, but I do wonder if the price increase reduces sales, because again, it's one of those things that most houses have a PlayStation or an Xbox, but normally if people have Switches, they've got a couple of them. And I wonder if it'll be the same way with the cost of the... I mean, there are 4 Switches. We have 4 Switches.
Yeah, but you didn't get them all at once.
No. Oh, no. Wow, no. Gosh, no. But it's built up because I had mine, and I played it, and the girls played it, and eventually each girl got one of their own. And then eventually my wife got a special Animal Crossing edition that she plays instead of mine. And mine says, because I don't play Switch anymore. But originally it was because we were sharing my Switch with 4 people in the house. So I was like, I'll play on the computer anyway. So, but I wonder if we'll see less of that. And it'll just be the question to see.
That's hard to say. I mean, maybe I'll be curious to see how quickly they sell versus the Switch One's sales. Like charting like first year versus first year. That I think will be the most telling piece of information. But oh well.
And that's what I got for today. I didn't dive into anything else though.
That was a lot. It's big news.
Drop you want to talk about money. I want to say Star Citizen crossed 800.
Oh, I didn't know people were still giving it money.
Apparently.
Okay. When's it done?
Never.
Oh, okay.
It's a living game. They found the best gaming
It is.
You don't even release the game.
No, that's it's brilliant.
You get more and more money, and you just keep putting out alphas.
Yes. I'll never understand that game. Well, what I do understand is, since we've reached the end of the show, people can support us. They can also email us, though, first at eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com. Support can be at patreon.com/eclectic_gamers for as little as $1 a month, and we do deeply appreciate it. You can also reach out to us at facebook.com/eclecticgamerspodcast should you want to communicate that way, though I will say, for a variety of reasons, especially if you're submitting things for the show, email is far better than Facebook. Facebook is annoying with the messenger to try and copy it over. So anyway, those are my plugs.
We're on Twitch and Instagram as eclectic_gamers, and there's links to our Discord.
Yep, and we have a link to the Discord in the show notes, so you can join that, and that's where Brotato is sometimes streamed by Tony. So,
yeah. And we talk about Brotato.
Yes, we do.
And other
well,
things.
They do. I don't.
And I share random stuff
I sometimes submit GIFs of
YouTube.
potatoes doing things to make fun of it, and that's about all I do. But anyway, in a couple of weeks, we should have a lot more pinball news from Stern and probably Barrels of Fun. But until then, my name is Dennis.
I'm Tony.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya.